if you're over 70 years old and you think everything is fine with you, maybe it isn't. And the worst part is that you might be the last person to notice. I know it sounds extreme. I thought so too. At 68, I was certain I was fine, memory intact. I remembered everything, birthdays, appointments, passwords, everything working. That's exactly why no one noticed, not even me. Alzheimer's doesn't start with forgetting names. It doesn't start when you lose your keys or forget where you parked the car. Everyone does that. Alzheimer's starts much earlier, in a place no one is looking, not even you. And when they finally notice, a lot has already happened. Things that don't come back. If someone had told me this at 70, maybe I wouldn't be telling this story now. Maybe a lot of things would be different. But no one told me, and I didn't pay attention. I thought I knew my own body, my own mind. I was wrong. Let me tell you something. When you think about Alzheimer's, you think of someone who doesn't recognize their children, someone who forgets their own name, someone who gets lost inside their own home. That's what appears on television. That's what everyone talks about. But that's not where it starts. The beginning is subtle, so subtle that you dismiss it. You laugh about it. You make excuses. And everyone around you does the same. Because no one wants to believe it. No one wants to see it. Not until it's undeniable. I started to notice. No, that's not true. I didn't notice anything. Others started to notice. And when they told me, I denied it, got irritated, because I was certain I was right. I always had been. It was my daughter who noticed first. At a Sunday lunch, she said I was different, more curt, more impatient. I laughed, said it was age, said everyone gets like that, a bit crankier, a bit more tired, normal. But it wasn't normal. I remembered everything, you understand? I remembered the whole conversation, the waiter's name, what everyone ordered. I even remembered what my grandson had told me the week before. So how could I have a problem? That's what I kept telling myself. My memory works, therefore I'm fine. But Alzheimer's doesn't work that way. Then other things started appearing, small things, so small they seem silly. But hold on to what I'm telling you, because soon you'll understand why this matters so much. I'd always been a calm person, patient, that type of grandfather who lets the kids make a mess, who listens to the same stories without complaining, the kind who could sit through a 3-hour family dinner without getting restless, the kind who actually enjoyed listening to people talk. But for some time now I was different. Noise bothered me. Not just loud noise, any noise. The television, people talking, someone chewing. Things that never bothered me before suddenly felt like nails on a chalkboard. Long conversations tired me. Not physically, mentally. Like my brain couldn't keep up anymore. Like processing words had become work instead of pleasure. When someone took too long to speak, I was already irritated before even listening. I'd find myself wanting them to just get to the point. Hurry up, say it faster. And the worst part, I thought the problem was with others, that people were more annoying, slower, more insistent, that the world had gotten noisier, that everyone talked too much about nothing. My wife said I was being rude. I replied that she was being too sensitive, that I was just being direct, honest, that people needed to toughen up. But that wasn't it. That wasn't who I was. That wasn't who I'd been for 70 years. Something was changing, and I was the last one to see it. I started making strange decisions, things that didn't make sense. One day I brought home 3 pairs of identical shoes. Not similar, identical. Same brand, same color, same size. I'd gone to buy one pair, but when it came time to pay, I thought I should take more, just because. There was no reason, no logic. It just seemed like the right thing to do in that moment. My wife asked why. I couldn't answer. I stood there, holding 3 boxes, trying to remember why I'd thought this was necessary. And I couldn't. So I got irritated again, said the money was mine, that I bought what I wanted, that she should stop questioning everything I did. She went quiet. That hurt look on her face. The one I'd seen more and more lately. Today I know that was already the beginning. There was another thing. I'd always been careful with money. Suspicious, even. The type who read every contract twice. Who never signed anything without understanding it completely. Who trusted no one when it came to finances. But suddenly I started trusting anyone. A new neighbor asked me to lend him money, a lot of money. He had some story about an emergency, something about his car and medical bills. The details are fuzzy now. I gave it. Without asking anything, without a contract, without even asking when he'd pay it back. He said it was urgent, and I believed him, simple as that. Handed him cash, right there, like it was nothing. My daughter was furious when she found out. Said I was becoming naive, that people took advantage of the elderly, that this man was probably a con artist, that I'd never see that money again. I said she was exaggerating, that I knew very well what I was doing, that I was a good judge of character, that she should trust my judgment. But I didn't know what I was doing, and she was right. I never saw that money again, or that neighbor, but I didn't. And my judgment, the thing I'd been so proud of my whole life, was failing me. And there was more, much more. Things that, when you look at them alone, seem like nothing. But when you put it all together, I'd enter a room and just stand there, just looking around, waiting to remember why I'd gone there. And it took time, sometimes a minute, sometimes 5. Sometimes I'd give up and go back to where I'd been, told myself it wasn't important, that it would come back to me later, but it wouldn't. I'd start doing something and stop in the middle. I'd go to fix a faucet, grab the toolbox, take out the wrench, and suddenly I was in the garage looking for something else entirely. And the faucet stayed there, dripping for days, until my wife called someone to fix it. When she told me the plumber was coming, I got defensive, said I was going to fix it, that I'd just been busy, that she didn't need to spend money on things I could do myself. She didn't argue, just nodded. But I saw it in her eyes. She didn't believe me anymore. But my memory was fine. I swore it was fine. I could tell you what happened 40 years ago in perfect detail. I could recite phone numbers I'd memorized as a young man. I could name every president in order. So how could there be something wrong? That's what I kept telling myself. That's what I used as proof. But memory isn't just remembering the past. It's also remembering what you're doing right now. What you were just about to do. Why you walked into a room. And that part was breaking. I started avoiding people. Not consciously at first. It just happened gradually. Invitations I used to accept, I started declining. Friends who called, I'd let it go to voicemail. Family gatherings I used to look forward to. I'd find excuses to leave early. It's not that I didn't like people anymore. It's that I felt tired, overwhelmed, like being around others took more energy than I had. Talking became an effort. Not because I couldn't talk, but because following conversations, tracking who said what, responding at the right time, reading faces, understanding jokes. All of it felt like work. Like my brain was running on low battery all the time. I'd be sitting at the dinner table surrounded by family, and I'd feel completely alone. Everyone talking, laughing, sharing stories, and I'd be there, physically present, but somewhere else entirely. It seemed like everything was moving at a different speed, either too slow, where every word dragged on forever, or too fast, where I couldn't keep up and the conversation would move on without me. I was present, but distant. My wife noticed. She always noticed. She'd touch my hand at the table and say my name softly. "Are you okay?" she'd ask. "I'm fine," I'd say. "Just tired." But I wasn't just tired. She'd say I wasn't really there, that I looked but didn't see, that I heard but wasn't listening. I denied it, said I was hearing every word, that I was paying attention. But the truth is that many times I wasn't. Not because I didn't want to, not because I didn't care, but because I couldn't. My mind would wander, or go blank, or get stuck on something insignificant while everything else passed me by, and I didn't even realize it was happening. There was one thing that made me very angry. When someone corrected me. About anything, even small things, especially small things. I'd always been proud, yes, confident, sure of myself, but never defensive like this, never so quick to anger. Once I told a story to the family, an old story from when I was young, a story I'd told before, many times, about something that happened during the war, a close call I'd had, something dramatic and heroic. My son interrupted me halfway through and said it hadn't been like that I was mixing up the details, that the last time I'd told it, it had been different, that certain facts didn't line up. I exploded, slammed my hand on the table, said he wasn't there, that I was the one who lived it, that I knew what had happened, that he had no right to question my own memories. The room went silent. My grandson started crying. My wife put her hand on my arm. Everyone was staring at me. My son didn't say anything else, just looked down at his plate. The rest of dinner was quiet, awkward, everyone pretending nothing had happened. Later that night, alone in bed, I tried to remember the story correctly. Really remember it, piece by piece, and I realized my son was right. The details didn't match. I'd mixed things up, combined different events, added things that hadn't happened, left out things that had. The story I'd just told with such certainty wasn't quite true, but I didn't admit it, not to him, not to anyone, not even to myself, really, because admitting it would mean admitting something was wrong, and I wasn't ready for that. Today I know that was already the beginning, because Alzheimer's doesn't just attack memory. It attacks the way you understand the world, how you process information, how you react, how you decide, how you feel, how you connect with others. It attacks who you are. It changes your personality, your temperament, your judgment, your emotions. And it does it so gradually that you don't notice. You just become a slightly different version of yourself, then a more different version, then someone your family barely recognizes, all while thinking you're exactly the same. E achava que era a idade. Todo mundo à minha volta achava que era a idade. Because that's what we're taught. That getting old means getting grumpy, getting forgetful, getting set in your ways, getting difficult. My wife would say, it's normal to get crankier with age, making excuses for me, covering for me, trying to protect my dignity. My children would say to each other, Dad's always been stubborn, as if this level of anger was just an extension of who I'd always been, as if this was normal. My friends, the few I still saw, would say, we're all getting old, we're all slowing down, normalizing it, accepting it, dismissing it. That was the mistake we all make. We normalize too much, accept too much, dismiss too much. We think everything is just part of aging. And a lot of it is, yes. But not everything, not this. And because everyone around me was making excuses, I made excuses too. I had permission to ignore what was happening. We all did. Soon you'll understand why this is so dangerous, why this costs people years of their lives, years when they could have done something. One day, I was coming back from the market, a market I'd been going to for 30 years. Same street, same bakery on the corner, same bodega next door, same doorman who'd been greeting me for 2 decades. I knew that route like I knew my own face, could walk it in my sleep, had walked it hundreds, maybe thousands of times. When I got to the building, I went up to the apartment, unlocked the door, put the groceries on the kitchen counter. My wife looked at me and asked, "Didn't you forget anything?" I said no, annoyed that she'd even ask, like she was checking up on me, testing me. She pointed to the bag. There was milk, bread, coffee, eggs, butter, everything correct. I'd bought everything on the list she'd given me, every single item. Then she asked, "And your wallet?" I reached for my pocket, empty. My heart dropped. I checked the other pocket. Nothing. My jacket. Nothing. I ran back to the market, nearly jogged, feeling panic rise in my chest. The wallet had my license, my cards, cash, everything. When I got there, breathless, the cashier saw me and smiled, held up my wallet. She said I'd left it on the counter, that I'd paid, taken my bags, and walked out. She'd called after me, but I didn't hear, or didn't respond. She'd kept it safe, knowing I'd be back. I thanked her profusely. Too much. Embarrassed. Walked back home slower this time. My wife was waiting by the door, worried. I said it had been a distraction, that everyone forgets things, that it was no big deal, that the cashier had it. Everything was fine. But it wasn't fine, because I had checked the groceries carefully, had looked at each item, verified against the list, made sure I hadn't forgotten anything. But I'd walked away without my wallet, left it sitting there in plain sight, and didn't notice. And the worst part wasn't forgetting to pick it up. The worst part came later, when I really thought about it. I didn't remember putting it down. Didn't remember the moment when I set it on the counter. It was like that action had never happened. Like there was just a blank spot where that memory should have been. And that terrified me, more than I wanted to admit. Today I know that was already the beginning. Around that time, I started being afraid to drive, which was strange, because I'd been driving for over 50 years, drove through snow, rain, city traffic, highways. I was a good driver, confident, safe. But something had changed. I'd be behind the wheel and feel uncertain, like I had to think about things that used to be automatic, when to brake, when to accelerate, which lane to be in. I took longer to make decisions, to change lanes, to turn at a corner. I'd check my mirrors 5 times, 10 times, still not sure, still hesitant. Other drivers would honk. I'd miss lights because I was thinking too much, checking too much. And even with all that checking, sometimes I'd still do it wrong. I entered one-way streets going the wrong way, twice. Both times, someone honked and pointed frantically, and I had to back up, humiliated. I forgot to signal, constantly. My wife would remind me every time. "Turn signal," she'd say quietly, and I'd snap at her to stop backseat driving. I stopped at green lights, waited for them to turn red, then got confused when cars behind me honked. Went through yellows I should have stopped for yellows I could have made. My reflexes felt slow, like there was a delay between seeing something and reacting to it. One day I almost hit someone in a crosswalk. Didn't see them until my wife screamed, slammed the brakes. The person glared at me, angry and scared. I shook for 20 minutes after that. My son started suggesting I stop driving. He'd bring it up carefully, said he was worried, said it wasn't safe anymore, said he'd be happy to drive me anywhere I needed to go. I was furious, took it as an insult, as an attack on my independence, on my manhood even. I said he wanted to trap me at home, that he was treating me like a child, that I'd been driving since before he was born, that I knew what I was doing. He didn't push, backed off immediately, said he was just worried, that he loved me. But I saw it in his eyes. He was afraid, not just worried, actually afraid of me, of what I might do behind the wheel. And deep down, I was afraid too. I tried to prove I was fine, tried to prove it to everyone, to myself most of all. I started making lists, bought a little notebook, carried it everywhere, wrote everything down, appointments, tasks, things to buy, things to remember, things to do. Thought that was the solution. If I couldn't trust my memory, I'd write it all down, simple, practical. My wife encouraged this, said it was smart, that lots of people kept lists, that it was organized, not a problem. But it didn't work, not the way it should have. I'd write something down, and then forget I'd written it. The notebook would sit in my pocket, useless, while I tried to remember what I was supposed to do. Or I'd look at the list and not understand my own handwriting, or not understand why I'd written something. Call John, it would say. But which John? About what? When? Or I'd look at something and think I'd already done it, cross it off, then realize later I hadn't. Or I'd do something twice because I forgot I'd crossed it off the first time. The list created as many problems as it solved. My wife started suggesting very gently that I see a doctor. She'd bring it up once a week, maybe once every few days, never pushing hard, just suggesting, just worried. She'd say things like, maybe we should get a checkup, just to be safe, make sure everything's okay. Or, you've been stressed, maybe the doctor could help. Or, wouldn't hurt to ask, just to put our minds at ease. She never said the word, never said Alzheimer's, never said dementia, never said anything that direct. But I knew what she was thinking. I knew what she feared. And I said no. Every time, got defensive, sometimes angry, said I didn't need a doctor, that I was fine, that it was just stress, just tiredness, just age, that everyone forgot things, that everyone got irritated, that this was normal. But it wasn't normal, and I knew it wasn't. Somewhere deep down, where I didn't want to look, I knew. I was just afraid, terrified, really. Afraid of hearing what I already suspected, afraid of confirming what I didn't want to accept, afraid of what it would mean, what it would change, what I would lose. So I denied it, refused to look at it. Built walls around the truth and tried to pretend those walls didn't exist. But you can only pretend for so long. Hold on to this, because in the end everything will connect. Everything I'm telling you, every small thing, every dismissed moment, every excuse. It all matters. It all means something. I kept trying to hide, from myself, from others, from the truth. I went out less, stayed home more, stopped accepting invitations, stopped calling friends, let relationships fade. Because if I didn't go out, I couldn't mess up in public, couldn't embarrass myself, couldn't give anyone more ammunition to say something was wrong. I talked less, too. In conversations, I'd stay quiet, nod along, let others fill the space. Because if I didn't talk much, I couldn't say something wrong, couldn't reveal gaps in my thinking, Couldn't show that I wasn't following as well as I should. I did less. Stopped fixing things around the house. Stopped volunteering for tasks. Stopped offering to help. Because the less I did, the less chance of making mistakes, the less evidence there would be, the easier it was to hide. I thought I was protecting myself, maintaining my dignity, staying in control. But I was just isolating myself, shrinking my world, becoming smaller. And the more I hid, the worse it got. Because I wasn't getting help, wasn't addressing it, was just letting it progress unchecked while I pretended everything was fine. My wife knew. She saw all of it. But she didn't push, didn't force me, just stayed close, worried silently, covered for me when I messed up, made excuses to others, protected me. I didn't appreciate that then, didn't see how much she was doing, how much she was carrying. I see it now. And then came the day that changed everything. The day I couldn't hide anymore. The day the walls came down. I was at home, alone. My wife had gone to visit our daughter, said she'd be gone a few hours, left me lunch in the refrigerator, told me to just heat it up. I said I'd be fine, that I'd been taking care of myself for 70 years, that I didn't need instructions. She kissed my forehead and left. I decided to make coffee, something I'd done every single day for 50 years, could do with my eyes closed, simple, automatic, mindless. I filled the kettle with water, put it on the stove, added the coffee grounds to the pot, turned on the burner, and went to sit down. Turned on the television, started watching the news. I don't know how much time passed. Could have been 20 minutes, could have been an hour. I only know I woke up to the smell. That acrid, burning smell that makes your throat close up. Smoke. Thick smoke in the kitchen. I jumped up, ran to the stove. The water had completely evaporated. Gone. The kettle was dry. The bottom was black, starting to melt, warping from the heat. Flames were licking up the sides. I grabbed a towel, burned my hand, dropped it, grabbed another, turned off the burner, threw the kettle in the sink, turned on the faucet. Steam exploded up, opened all the windows, waved towels at the smoke detector before it could go off. Stood there coughing, hand throbbing, staring at the ruined kettle. My heart was pounding, not just from the panic, from something else. Because I hadn't forgotten. That's what I kept telling myself. I hadn't forgotten I was making coffee. I just hadn't thought about it. Hadn't connected that if you turn on a stove, you have to watch it. That water boils, that things burn, that you can't just walk away. That connection, that automatic understanding, that basic cause and effect. It wasn't there anymore. It had always been automatic, for my entire adult life. You don't have to think about it. You just know. And suddenly, I didn't. I sat down at the kitchen table, looked at my burned hand, at the smoke still hanging in the air, at the destroyed kettle in the sink. And I cried, not because of the kettle, not because of my hand, not even because I'd almost burned down the house. But because in that moment, I finally knew, really knew, could no longer deny it or explain it away. Something was breaking inside me, coming apart, piece by piece, day by day, and I couldn't stop it, couldn't control it, couldn't fix it by trying harder or paying more attention or making more lists. It was happening to me, not because I was careless, not because I wasn't trying, but because something in my brain was failing. I sat there for a long time, until the smoke cleared, until my hand stopped throbbing, until my wife came home. When she walked in, she saw my face, saw the kettle, saw the open windows, smelled the lingering smoke. She didn't ask what happened. She just came to me, sat down next to me, took my burned hand in hers, and I told her everything, the kettle, the lists that didn't work, the decisions that made no sense, the irritation I couldn't control, the fear I'd been carrying, the truth I'd been hiding from. I told her I was scared, that I didn't know what was happening to me, that I felt like I was losing myself. She held my hand, let me talk, didn't interrupt, didn't judge. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "We're going to get help, together. We'll figure this out. You're not alone." And she meant it. The next week, we went to the doctor. I was terrified, wanted to cancel, made excuses. But she got me there. They did tests, so many tests, physical tests, blood work, brain scans, cognitive evaluations, memory tests, problem-solving tests. Tests I didn't even know existed. Some I did well on, some I struggled with, some I couldn't complete at all. They asked questions, lots of questions, about my daily life, my behavior, my changes, my history. My wife answered many of them, told them things I hadn't noticed, or had noticed but dismissed, or had refused to acknowledge. And then came the appointment where they gave us the results. The doctor was kind, gentle, but direct. Alzheimer's disease, early stage. Mild cognitive impairment, progressing to early dementia. He said other things too, technical things, about plaques and tangles and neurodegeneration, about expected progression and treatment options and lifestyle modifications. But all I heard was Alzheimer's. The word I'd been afraid of, the diagnosis I'd been denying, the truth I'd been running from. My wife squeezed my hand. I couldn't look at her, couldn't look at the doctor, just stared at the floor. The doctor kept talking, said we'd caught it relatively early. That many people don't get diagnosed until much later, until they're significantly impaired, until treatment is less effective. He said that because we'd come in now, because we were addressing it now, there were things we could do. Not to cure it. He was very clear about that. There's no cure, no way to stop it completely, no way to reverse what's already happened. But there are ways to slow it down, to manage symptoms, to maintain quality of life, to buy time. Time. That word again. He talked about medications, about cognitive exercises, about diet and sleep and exercise, about routines and structure, about support groups and resources. He talked about planning, about legal matters and financial matters and care decisions, about having conversations now, while I was still able, about making choices about my own future while I still could. It was overwhelming. Too much information, too much to process, too much to accept all at once. We went home in silence, both of us lost in our own thoughts. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't sleep, just stared at the ceiling. My wife asked if I was okay. I said I didn't know. She asked what I was thinking about. I said everything, nothing, the future, the past, time. And then I said what I was really afraid of, the thing that scared me more than anything else. It wasn't forgetting. It wasn't even dying. It was becoming dependent, helpless, a burden. It was the thought of my children having to take care of me, having to feed me, dress me, make decisions for me. The thought of my grandchildren seeing me like that, being afraid of me, not wanting to visit. The thought of looking at my wife and not recognizing her, not feeling anything, not remembering our 50 years together. The thought of losing myself completely, of becoming someone else, someone I wouldn't want to be, someone my family wouldn't recognize. That terrified me, more than death. Because with Alzheimer's, you die before you die. You're there, but you're not. Your body keeps going, but you're gone. and the people who love you have to watch it happen, have to grieve while you're still alive, have to remember who you were while dealing with who you've become. That's cruel for everyone. My wife held me while I cried, again, told me we'd face it together, that she wasn't going anywhere, that we'd make the most of whatever time we had. And she meant it. She always means it. The next day, I started treatment, medication to slow the progression, to help with symptoms, to buy time. I started doing cognitive exercises, puzzles, memory games, things that felt silly and childish, but supposedly helped. I changed my diet, started exercising more, fixed my sleep schedule, all the things the doctor recommended. I established routines, structure, consistency, because apparently that helps, makes things easier, reduces confusion. My wife helped with all of it, kept track of medications, scheduled appointments, made sure I ate right, exercised with me, did puzzles with me. We joined a support group, sat in a circle with other couples dealing with the same thing, listened to their stories, shared ours. It helped, not to cure anything, but to feel less alone, to know others understood, to learn from people ahead of us on this path. I started planning, too, while I still could, while I was still me. We met with lawyers, updated our will, set up power of attorney, made medical directives, put everything in order. We had hard conversations about care, about facilities, about what I wanted, about what I didn't want, about when to stop fighting, when to let go. They were painful conversations, but necessary, because I wanted to make these decisions while I still could, while they were still mine to make. And slowly, gradually, I started to accept it, not happily, not easily. But I accepted that this was happening, that denial wouldn't change it, that hiding wouldn't help, that the best thing I could do was face it, deal with it, fight it as long as I could. And when I couldn't fight anymore, let the people who love me take care of me, because that's what families do. Today, a year after that diagnosis, I can see things more clearly, not because my mind is clearer. It's not. It's worse than it was, noticeably worse. But I can see my past more clearly, can look back and recognize all the signs, all the moments, all the changes. They were there, screaming at me, at everyone around me. But we didn't want to see them, didn't want to believe them. We normalized them, explained them away, called them age, called them stress, called them anything but what they were. And that cost me time. Time I could have been getting help, time I could have been slowing this down, time I could have been preparing. I can't get that time back. No one can. But I'm telling you this so maybe you won't make the same mistake. So now, I want to talk directly to you. You who are listening. You who might see yourself in this story, or see someone you love. If you're over 70 and you've noticed changes, don't ignore them. If you're more irritable, without reason, if simple decisions feel harder, if you trust people you shouldn't, if you avoid social situations you used to enjoy, if you lose track of tasks midway through, if you get defensive when corrected, don't tell yourself it's just age. Don't let others tell you that either. Because some of it might be age, but some of it might not be. And the only way to know is to check, to ask, to get evaluated. I know it's scary. I know it's easier to pretend everything is fine. I did that for too long. And I regret it. Every day I regret it. Because if I had paid attention earlier, if I had sought help when the signs were still small, maybe I'd have more time now. More good time, more lucid time, more time as myself. You can't turn back time, but you can use the time you have. If someone close to you is changing, don't look away. Don't make excuses for them. Don't wait for it to become obvious. Talk to them. Gently, kindly, but honestly. Suggest seeing a doctor. Offer to go with them. And if they resist, if they deny, if they get angry, persist. Carefully, but persist. Because they might be scared. They might not want to face it. They might need someone to push them toward help. I needed that. I wish someone had pushed harder. And if you yourself feel something has changed in you, don't deny it. Don't hide it. Don't wait. Go get evaluated. Let doctors run tests. Find out what's happening. Because Alzheimer's isn't just about forgetting. It's about so much more than that. It's about changes in behavior, in judgment, in personality, in emotional regulation, in the ability to plan and organize and complete tasks. It's about subtle shifts that seem like nothing until you put them all together. And the earlier you catch it, the more you can do, the more time you can preserve, the more of yourself you can hold on to. Not forever, nothing is forever, but for longer, for more good days, more present moments, more time with the people you love. Every day I have now where I still know my wife, where I still recognize my children, where I can still have a conversation, where I'm still me. Those days matter. They matter more than anything. And I almost lost more of them because I was too proud, too scared, too stubborn to face the truth. Don't be like I was. Don't wait until you can't hide it anymore. Because by then, you've already lost time you can't get back. Today, when I look back at everything, I see it all so clearly, every sign, every symptom, every change. They were obvious, undeniable, unmistakable. But I didn't want to see them, so I didn't. And many people are doing the same thing right now, at this very moment, ignoring signs, making excuses, waiting for it to become bad enough that they can't ignore it anymore. But by then, it's already bad, already progressed, already taken more than it needed to. Don't wait. Don't tell yourself it's nothing. Don't let fear keep you from finding out. Don't sacrifice time, because you're afraid of the truth. The truth doesn't go away because you ignore it. It just gets worse. And time is the only thing we really have, the only thing that matters in the end. Time with ourselves, time with the people we love, time as who we are. Alzheimer's steals that time, slowly, silently, relentlessly. But if you catch it early, you can slow it down. You can hold on to more time. You can stay yourself for longer, not forever, but longer. And that makes all the difference. Because Alzheimer's doesn't warn you. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It settles in while you still think everything is fine. While you're still making excuses. While you're still in denial. It moves into your brain and starts changing things. Quietly. Gradually. Inevitably. And when you finally notice, when you finally accept it, when you finally face it, it's been there for a long time already. Living inside you, changing you, taking pieces of you. Don't let it take more than it has to. Pay attention, be honest, get help. While you still can, while you're still you.